I grew up with the sounds and the smells and the sights of Renosterveld. The veld was my speelplek when I was young. As the years went by, I've started thinking more and more about the relationship between us humans and the veld. And as I learned more of the veld, I became more puzzled by this relationship. If something is man-made, it means it could potentially be recreated. Why then do people not show respect to Renosterveld, which, once destroyed, can never be recreated? If we don't crack that one, we are fighting a difficult, if not a losing battle.
The biggest challenge with working in this landscape is the perception by the public that the Overberg landscape is this beautiful patchwork quilt of all these various colours and hues and textures of farmland, especially in spring when the canola is flowering, and it's very awe-inspiring and it's very beautiful. What we need to get the public and the landowners to understand is that the real diversity and the real gems are found in those little grey scrubby patches of Renosterveld. And I think what we must look at is where we haven't got natural habitats, what is missing there? This year we saw very clearly what happens when there's a flood and you've taken out all your watercourses and all your seepage areas have been ploughed. Those watercourses hold those systems together. Where are our pollinators? Where do they live when there's nothing on the lands after the harvest? Imagine a landscape with nothing in it, with nothing natural at all. We're close to that point, but we have a lot that still keeps an incredible amount of life in the system. And I don't think any landowner wants to see a system that's devoid of life.
The approach to conservation taken at the Overberg is one which is towards conserving the ecosystem as opposed to approaches that look at a particular species like the rhino. In doing so, we're conserving not only what we know above ground, but also below ground and the interaction of the complexities of the ecosystem.
When I first started spending time in Renosterveld, I saw there was a big gap that needed to be filled for conservation action. The fact that all these farms or all these remnants are divided up amongst hundreds of farms makes it completely overwhelming. But we started with a very small organization, we're still small, and a mission to save Renosterveld. So a conservation easement is an option for landowners who would like to ensure that their land is conserved in perpetuity on their title deed. And as an incentive to the landowner, we offer assistance with management and restoration of the veld.
As a person who grew up in the Overberg, being involved in such a unique area has been really special for me. Coming down into the lowlands, you think, sure, what is here? And it's all grey, and then you start walking in the veld and you see all these little blommetjies, some of which have barely been described or are very rare. And then we start connecting with landowners, and it's really a privilege to be able to share that knowledge with them, for them to grasp that what's amongst their land is very special and it contributes so much to the context of their farm, to the landscape that they manage. That's what makes the easement program so rewarding, so special, is that we're conserving in partnership with landowners.
I am sure that we as a trust are doing the right thing to be able to promote conservation with our farming community.
The drought we've experienced in the last 5 years has taught us that no single standing piece of land is self-sufficient. And if we think about what we are using today and in terms of the future generations, any landowner wanting to bequeath the land to their children must preserve the potential of that land. It's not just what you are using it today, but what they might use it for tomorrow's needs, which will be different from today.
The changes that we've seen in attitudes, just because we've shared with landowners what they have, has been phenomenal. The acknowledgement that they may not make money from it, but this enriches their lives in other ways, has been incredible.
Ek het nooit besef hier is so baie verskillende plantjies. Ek dink jy gaan ryker wees om dit te bewaar as om net dit om te werk en is iets wat jou kinders nog kan geniet as 'n kaal koringland of 'n canola land wat afgeoes is na die tyd. En hierdie bly vir altyd so.
Ek gedink Renosterveld is net bossies. Nou is Renosterveld eintlik vetplante vir my en diertjies en you name it. Enige lewe in die veld. En die lekkerste is dit om dit op jou eie grond te kan sien. Jy kyk met ander oë na diere, jy kyk met ander oë na die veld. Ek hou van die manier hoe julle met die boere nou benader om 'n positiewe pad met hulle te stap en om nie vyande van hulle te wees nie.
Ek is nie 'n vreeslike kennis van die plantegroei en van die dierelewe nie, maar my kinders kan dalk verskriklik belangstel in die toekoms en as ons dit nie nou bewaar nie, dan gaan hulle nie daardie geleentheid hê nie. Ons is mos nou maar almal landbouers, gaan dit vir ons nog baie beteken in die toekoms. Dit is lekker om te kan hande vat en mense te hê wat jou kan help.
Die trust waarmee ons saamwerk is een van die voertuie wat gebruik kan word sodat jy hulp kan ontvang sodat jy dit op die regte manier kan bewaar.
Ek wil net vandag vir hulle weer baie dankie sê vir die jare wat hulle al hier spandeer het saam met my om my veld 'n beter plek te maak. So is 'n enorme verandering gekom oor jare van dat Overberg Conservation Trust ingeklim het en vir my kom help het. Ek kan net vir hulle baie dankie sê vir die navorsing wat hulle al voor die tyd gedoen het en toe nog vir my kom leer het en tot en met vandag toe nog steeds nuwe dinge leer. Ons hoop regtig dat die projek van krag tot krag sal gaan en dat ons hopelik die veld eendag weer terug kan kry soos hy oorspronklik gang.
Eerstens die rede sal ek sê is omdat daar slegs 5% van dit oor is en dit so 'n groot biome is wat so groot diversiteit het en almal kyk altyd net na al die groot diere, groot bome, maar daar's soveel binne in die biome wat 'n mens nog moet ontdek. Dit is vir my no-brainer en mens moet dit bewaar.
What we're doing at the moment is what we call a BioBlitz, where we aim to go out and record as many living things as we can over, say, a weekend. So we do a couple of these a year to create an inventory for the areas that we're working on and for Renosterveld in general in the Overberg. Through that we get a really good idea of the diversity of life in these sites that we're working on.
In order to help students that come and study Renosterveld in future, we were building up a herbarium at Harvestkloof. We're trying to get a collection of every species that we find in Renosterveld. We just take a small sample of the plants that we find. This is a way of preserving them forever, essentially.
I've been living here for 18 years and I know the veld and I appreciate some of it. But I was like a dragon sitting on a pile of gold, and now I have discovered the pile of gold.
Everyone that has done a walk in the Renosterveld would realize that after a day's walk and watching all the little flowers and all the plants, you reconnected with nature and you're a better person afterwards.
I mean, I've been working on them on and off for 20 years and my heart still skips a beat every time I see one. And it's extremely worrying that they are in such trouble.
We've got something very valuable and special here, but we need to intervene before it's too late. We're working against the clock here.
We have 5% of the Renosterveld left. We have to take action now to conserve it, or we will lose it completely.
Ek wil vandag net die mede-eienaars van Renosterveld plase aanmoedig om aan te sluit. Ek weet dit is 'n baie sensitiewe topic om aan te raak, om jou plaas gedeeltelik af te staan aan iemand anders. Maar ek kan julle garandeer, dis uiteindelik nie moeite werd. Daar is nie fynskrif wat vir my of vir hulle benadeel nie. En op die uiteinde van die dag gaan jy maar net 'n beter plaas terugkry as wat jy heidaglik het. Gaan na hulle toe, Overberg Conservation Trust, praat met Adet en Grant en gaan sien, julle gaan nie spyt wees om te verander nie.
As a board member, I'm humbled to be part of a small team of people who dare to dream into bringing in the farmers, the stakeholders, and all other interesting parties towards securing this very unique piece of biodiversity.
The vision I have for the Trust going into the future is that we grow this easement program extensively. My dream is to see our conservation easement signage across the Overberg on every farm that has Renosterveld. And I'd love to see landowners looking at the bigger picture, looking at their farm as a part of a bigger landscape where everything you do impacts everything else. It's been a very tough journey and we are only just sort of gathering momentum now and really picking up speed now, but it's been extremely rewarding, and looking back on 10 years we can be extremely proud of how far we've come.